Alright, I am live. YouTube says I'm live, so I must be live, right? The internet never lies. Welcome into the Howdy Tech Show. This is a little live stream that I do every weekend, usually Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. unless I work a full-time job here on Saturday morning. Talk about some news in the tech industry that's happened mostly over the last week. I try to catch stuff that's happened over the last week. And then we get into what you expect out of the channel and how the channel has done for the past week or so. Of course, if you're live and watching, any questions, comments, concerns, throw them in chat. I'll be more than happy to answer them as I catch them. Sometimes I do gameplay. I haven't been doing that very often, but sometimes I get into gameplay. Just kind of come and hang out with me, gives subscribers in the community a chance to come and hang out with me and give them one-on-one time with me a little bit. Well, the best way that I know how, anyway. But today's articles, we have AMD FidelityFX Super Resolution. Came to 16 more games. Interesting. We have some information about the Ryzen 7000 Zen4 processors, the clock speeds, and the IPC uplift, and the performance, single thread and multi-core performance. We also have the Radeon RX 7000 RDNA3 with performance numbers on it per watt. And we also got, which shouldn't surprise nobody, but we got a leak about the RX 4000 series coming out from NVIDIA. We're going to be covering that in today's video. Then the topics we got, like I said, well, actually I didn't say. Everything will be linked in the description below with the articles I talk about. Hey, what's going on, buddy? You're in the house? Glad you decided to hang out with me this weekend. But all the articles I talk about this week will be linked in the description below if you'd like to do some more reading on it than what I cover here on the live stream. More than welcome to do so. The links will be down there for you. There is a couple disclaimers at the beginning of each video or live stream. I do enjoy me a cold beer while I do this, cold Budweiser, so cheers to y'all. I hope the weekend's finding you well. Also, I am a truck driver by trade, so my language ain't the best. I try to keep the cussing and the cursing to a minimum, but it does happen. It will slip off from time to time. If the foul language or the alcohol consumption bothers you too bad, maybe this ain't the right live stream for you. I don't want nobody here that they ain't going to feel comfortable with what's going on, so it's just a little fair warning. It does happen in the show. And now with the disclaimers out of the way, we'll flip you guys over. If I remember how to do this, we'll flip you guys over and we'll start going through these articles for this week. Let's see here. How do I do this again? I only do this once a week. There we go. I think you can see me up there. AMD FidelityFX Super Resolution 2.0. 16 more games, supports it. If you don't know, AMD FidelityFX Super Resolution, the same thing as DLSS from NVIDIA, which pretty well just renders your games at a lower resolution and upscales them to whatever you want it to be. Usually used with 1440p or 4K. It helps a little bit on 1080p, but not really. It just helps you get better performance out of your video cards. But up till today, or up till, well, when was this? About 21 hours ago this came out. There was only like 3 or 4 games that supported this. The new games that they have added to it, they have them all named here someplace. With the addition of 16 more titles receiving FSR2 support, video games adoption for version 2.0 has grown to 19 games in all so far. Upcoming titles include Abyss World, Astrogos, I guess we pronounce that, Delsum, EV Online, Forspoken, Grounded, Hitman 3, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Nashahan, Overprime, Perfect World Remake, Rescue Party, Live, Super People, Surgeman's Remake, the Calisco Protocol, and Unknown 9 Awakening. I've never heard of any of them, but yeah, no. Guess you're up in any of them games. It'd be good for you to be able to get more performance out of them. 3 titles that already supported it was God of War, Deathloop, and Farming Simulator 22. I don't know, but by my count, that ain't quite 16 of them. AMD also announced FSR1 support is increasing simultaneously, with 7 more titles now supporting version 1.0, which we have Armin Reforger, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dolmen, Hitman 3, Radeon, the Ancient Epic Enhanced Edition, Spyro Elite 5, The Elder Scrolls Online, and NVIDIA Ryzen. Which if them titles are going to start supporting 1.0, I'm sure they'll end up taking on 2.0 as well. May take them a while. If you're wondering what kind of performance gains you could expect out of FSR 2.0, they got some benchmarks here with 6950 XT at 4K Ultra. They got FSR off with 66 is the average. With it turned on to quality, they got 83. With it being on balance, they got 90. Then turn it on to performance, they got 96 frames per second on it. Pretty good, not bad. Chris McGraw, you're in the house, buddy. Welcome in. Glad you can hang out with me this weekend. Glad to see you in chat over there. Yeah, it looks like the FSR 2.0 is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's doing pretty good. You're looking at 30 frames per second in God of War, the 6950 XT at 4K Ultra settings. Pretty good for going into just the game settings and flipping it on. It ain't quite, the FSR ain't quite as popular as NVIDIA's, but it sounds like they're trying to get it up there. More games is starting to adopt it now. But I still don't see where it has all 16 games, because I don't think that was 16 of them. Them's the upcoming titles. Did I pass them all up? I may have passed them all up. Adoption by games developed for 2 years is looking good with 19 more games, 2 years supporting AMD upscaling technology. The firms include, that's the makers of them. But anyways, looks like AMD FX Super Resolution is starting to be adopted and a little bit more widely used by game developers, which is a good sign. And if you take that, and if you run an AMD processor with AMD GPU, and you use SAM, along with this FX Super Resolution, you ought to get a lot more better performance out of your components. Still using 1654 gig I rescued from an Acer pre-built last year I got for cheap. I'll still use it for a while. Yeah, you could, and that's the nice thing about this. The FX Super Resolution, it goes for NVIDIA cards or AMD cards, either way. Unlike NVIDIA's implement of it, they'll lock down to just NVIDIA cards can use it. This one here, actually, you can use with AMD or NVIDIA cards either way. Which I know they say that, I think the 1070 is supposed to be the oldest card that would allow you to use it. But I've seen videos where people use it on 1060s and, you know, cards in that era, so it may still work. FSR works great with it on Far Cry 6. Yeah, there you go. 1650 still works with it. You know, even though they came out and said, yeah, they have at least 1070. What's his name? Daniel Owens. He did a video using the 1060, and it worked good for him. And there's your verification that the 1650 even supports it. But I think it's kind of cool that AMD's actually putting something out like this and not locking them down to their video cards and letting even NVIDIA use them. I think it's pretty cool on AMD's part. So now we're up to about 19 games that support it. And like I said, the ones that's taking on version 1 of it, I'm sure they will eventually end up adopting version 2.0. Kind of strange that they're doing version 1 when 2.0 is already out. Well, I thought that was pretty cool, pretty interesting. I think they're rolling them out faster than what NVIDIA is rolling out game supports for DSLL or DLSS. Deep Learning Super Sampling, yeah, DLSS. Unless you have a 2 gig card, it should be good. Yeah, it does use up quite a bit of VRAM to use it, I believe, with what I've seen on it. That's one thing about the lower end cards. You know, you gotta make sure they have the VRAM to support it, because it does use up a lot of VRAM to use it. But that's all, you know, I mean, that's pretty well all controlled within the software. You know, you don't have a whole lot of control over it. From what I've seen, though, it does use a lot of VRAM to be able to utilize it. Maybe that's why they say only 1070 can run it, because of the VRAM buffer or something. I don't know. But you gotta think, that graphics card sitting there feeding one resolution, upscaling it and feeding it back out is gonna eat up the VRAM. 2 gig is enough for PC building simulator, but not much more, except maybe some light emulation. Yeah. You know, there for the longest time, 2 gigs was plenty of VRAM for video games. Anymore, it's getting hard to recommend 2 gig video cards. You know, even like the 1060, and then when they first came out, the RX580 came out, they had 3 gig and the 4 gig versions. I wasn't even recommending to use them because of the VRAM buffer on it. You know, when you get the 6 gig or the 8 gig, they last you a little bit longer because of that VRAM buffer. But, you know, whenever you come out with new stuff like this, you know, it's definitely going to use up more resources on the hardware. So you got to make sure your hardware is going to have enough resources to use it. Talking of PC Building Simulator, PC Building Simulator 2 is in open beta, I believe. Well, that's nice. I've been actually thinking about picking that up when it comes out. I played, well, even here on the stream, I played it quite often. I really enjoy that PC Builder Simulator. Never did finish a whole complete game of it, though, but I did enjoy playing it. And that PC Builder Simulator 2 looks pretty interesting with all the new stuff that's coming out on it and some of the mechanics behind it. That's a good way to build computers whenever you haven't been able to build a computer for 2 years. Now let's say next we have AMD Ryzen 7000 Zen4 desktops confirmed. The feature over 5.5 gigahertz clock, an 8% IPC uplift, 15% higher single thread, and 25% higher performance per watt. That's pretty nice. Pretty nice uplifts. Whenever AMD talked about Ryzen 7000, they said, you know, they've shown 5.0. There was some leaks and some rumors out there of 5.8. This one just came out on the 9th, which was 2 days ago. Yeah. And it's like everybody said, you know, I think AMD, when they came out with that, they were sandbagging themselves. They wasn't showing the full potential of the chips, which I agreed with everybody. They were sandbagging themselves. They didn't want Intel to know what kind of performance they was expecting out of these CPUs. I think that's what it comes down to. They didn't want Intel to know what they could get. Because in Intel's mind, you know, they're thinking, oh, we got to beat 5.0. We've already got that, so we don't have to innovate a whole lot, you know. Then AMD would come out and be able to hit 5.5 or 5.8, and you know, they'd have the lead with no problem. But I think it's going to be pretty cool with an 8% IPC uplift, 15% single thread performance, and 25% per watt improvement. Which, you know, that 25% performance per watt just means that they can get more performance out of each watt that the CPU raises, so they can get better performance out of it without having to raise the wattage or how hot the chip gets too much, actually. According to Moore's law is dead, it should be even better. Yeah, it should be. I'm still saying the 5.8 probably ain't going to be unheard of. Now, what they're going to set them out, you know, what they're going to send them out to be, stock is going to be questionable. But of course, you got the overclockers. MT Corners in the house. How you doing, MT? Glad you decided to hang out with me, buddy. Glad you could join me for this weekend. Yeah, but that 25 watts, 25% performance means that the chip don't have to run as hot to be able to get more performance out of it. So, which is a good thing. Which we'll get into here in a little bit, but NVIDIA's new graphics card, because of the wattage they take, you know, they got to put a lot bigger cooler on them, have more airflow over them to be able to keep them cool. Here's a nice little picture for us to look at. Maybe if it loads. There we go. Pretty well what I said already. 5.5 clock speeds, 8% IPC uplift in desktop workloads, and greater than single thread performance uplift 15%. Of course, that clock speed, it says greater than 5.5 as well. We should have those in a few months. Yeah, we should have. Hopefully they come out with something, because right now I believe Intel is kind of dominating the gaming. Intel is just their better value, and they're actually beating AMD as far as gaming performance goes. Higher performance with lower power consumption. That's pretty big deal too. Of course, they're going on a smaller node this time around. The only caveat is motherboards will support only DDR5. Yeah, that's the other thing with it. All the new AM5 stuff you will have to find DDR5 memory. Which we talked a little bit about that last week. You know, the price of DDR5 is actually starting to come down some. I mean, it ain't down to even close to what DDR4 is, but it is starting to come down. It's starting to become a little bit more edibly, easier to get a hold of. And it costs a lot. Now even their prices reduced significantly lately. Yeah, it still costs quite a bit. But it does seem like they're trying to get more in stock, and it is still, you know, they're trying to get more of it out. But it's a good thing that, because AM5 is going to require DDR5. Raptor Lake, I believe it's going to have DDR5. So it's a good thing that they're trying to get that price under control and trying to get more stock out before they launch them. Yeah, here's what I was talking about. on the IN16 core port with additional lake starting clocks north of 5.8 gigahertz. DDR5, that's going to be one of the big things with it. That's the server stuff. I don't talk about servers. I ain't that big into the server scene. Here's a little bit of a roadmap for us. As you can see, the 7000 series, the second generation over here, is going to come out with some 3D V cache, just like the 5800X did. So you'll be able to get a little bit better performance whenever they launch. They really don't have a date. Actually, the earlier photos I've seen of that didn't say 3D V cache; they're just saying V cache. But I'm sure it's going to be 3D, just like they did with the 5800X. It looks like we got some new Threadrippers coming out here. This should be coming out with this generation, which we haven't really seen many much about Threadrippers. DDR5 should scale better at high speeds. It should, but you still have the cache latencies on the DDR5 that I think is going to be holding back till hopefully they get them under control a little bit. But they should scale it a little bit better with the high speeds. But well, we'll have to see how they handle that as far as the chip manufacturers go. And of course, Raptor Lake will probably be able to utilize DDR5 a little bit better than what Alder Lake's been able to use as well. Slow, but still, yeah, it's getting there. And DDR4 is the same way when it first launched. If you're using the computers when DDR4 launched, it was the same way. That's like before DDR5 launched, you'll be asking my thoughts on it, and that didn't thrill me none because I knew what was going to happen. You know, it happened when DDR3 came out. It happened when DDR4 came out. It's happening again with DDR5. Here when they come out with DDR6 memory here in a few years, it's going to happen the same way there too. It's going to be a slow process to get it up to where it needs to be. Hopefully they can do it before before people was made to buy it. But of course, there's always a way around that as well. Yeah, the latency is very high with it. There is a way around it too, though. That's just not to buy into the newest stuff. You know, me personally, I even did it with AMD Ryzen. I never covered any of the AMD Ryzen first gen stuff. I waited till it matured 1 year and got into the second gen or the Zen Plus architecture to give them that year to figure shit out. You know, it takes them a while to get the bugs worked out of it. Every time you buy into a new platform or new CPUs and motherboards, you're going to have incompatibilities, you're going to have software issues. You know, so it takes a while to get ironed out. That's why I really don't care about Intel changing the motherboards every generation. Every year they change the motherboards that they have in the past anyways. That's because by the time they get that platform and CPU stable and working like it should, then the next generation comes out and you start over with the issues all over again. So, once they get the issues resolved on the Intel side of things, they come out with new stuff. By into the new stuff, you have the same issues. I don't intend to get into AM5 for the first year. I don't personally. I may try to get some for the channel just to make videos on. Like I said, I even skipped Ryzen first gen, just because it wasn't. It just, to me, there's a lot of bugs that need worked out on it. You said it and changes too much into OC or CPU. It is hell. And he said, yeah. Intel has never really been known to be very easy for OC and the CPUs. I think Intel pretty well expects everybody, which a lot of people do. They put the system together and they use them. They don't go in and tinker with the overclocking and stuff like that, even if they do pay the extra money for it. A lot of people don't do it. But and I think that's the way Intel thinks about it. I don't think they really keep the enthusiast in mind. I hope you guys are doing well on this fine Saturday. I'm listening, but my hands are busy at the moment. Okay, I'm not even asking MT what your hands is busy doing. We'll put that down as a little bit of too much information. But I'm doing pretty good on this Saturday. As long as you're listening, buddy, it's all that counts. Listen to me ramble on about this technology stuff. With Ryzen PBO, takes care of it if you don't want to do it manually. Yeah, even with the Intel CPUs, they got the auto overclocking feature, and they've got a lot better with the 10th gen. 11th gen it was kind of hit and miss. 12th gen, by the way I'm understanding, I haven't got to play with any of them, but their auto overclocking seems to do pretty good. Seems to be able to get them speeds up there pretty good and be able to maintain them pretty good. I'm talking about PBO. That's one of the main reasons why I really wouldn't recommend overclocking a Ryzen CPU. If you're going with 3000 and 5000 series, that PBO is so good. You really don't see much of a performance in overclocking the CPU, really. They got some stats here. I'd like to look at them. I'm not going to really shoot through them. The differences between AMD and Raptor Lake here. Yeah, well, with Intel, you have to keep it up to, you have to have at least the Z9, Z platform motherboards to be able to overclock the K chips. I don't even think the 660 motherboards can overclock. I don't think they unlock the CPU overclock. They unlock the RAM overclocking. I don't think they unlock the CPU overclocking. I think it was the 560s also, if I'm not mistaken, that unlocked the RAM overclocking on them. Pairing CPU with motherboard is a pain you don't have to deal with Ryzen. Yeah, well, that's going to change too with the AM5 coming out. It's just like anything else, we had the AM3 and then the 8, now we have AM4, and now we're coming up with AM5. There's probably going to be a lot of people out there buying a B450 or a B550 motherboard and wanting to use the newest processor on it, and it ain't going to work for them. Which I think that'd be a pretty good video to come up with, because AM5 is coming out and they're changing the socket type. For people just getting into a PC building and whatnot. How to know, how to make sure your components are going to fit together before buying your components. There's a lot of people ain't going to understand the difference between the two. They'll get an ASRock board, even a 520M. Bottom of the barrel motherboard has OC features in the BIOS. Yeah, AMD's always supported overclocking on their chips. Intel, they just want their top of the line, or they can charge more because it's got the K on it, which means it's overclockable. Then you have to buy their high-end motherboards to overclock, where with Ryzen, they opened them way up. I'm not sure if all the 520 motherboards actually have overclocking abilities. I don't recommend the A520 motherboards. Not through software, but in the BIOS it does. Yeah. And I don't know if it goes for all the 520 or not. I really don't recommend going with that budget of a motherboard. To me, they just got way too many features, and you're gonna pay, 3/4 of what you would for a decent 550 motherboard. You might as well save a little bit more money and get the 550. My son had that board. Yeah, they say that some of them A520 is pretty good, but I just don't recommend them. It's just, I don't know. I like having an upgrade path with most of the computers I build, and the A520 very limits what CPUs you can actually put on them. Which, I mean, if you ain't looking to go with a very high-end CPU, you'd be already probably a 5600 or something like that. But if you want to go with the Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 9, it kind of locks you out of those just because of the VRMs on them. He was watching too much adult content with his PC. I got tired of yelling, so I sold it to my mother. Too much adult content, huh? That happens when they're kids. Yeah, but the new Ryzen chips, 8% IPC, which pretty well is what your games count on. 15% single thread performance, 25% performance per watt. I think they're going to have pretty good chips this time around. I think the new launch of the new chips is going to be about the same as what we've seen in the past year or so. Yeah, that happens with kids. And take what they say with a grain of salt, because, it says greater than 5.5. It says greater than 15%, It says plus 8% IPC uplift. But let's see what kind of power they can actually get them out of them. Can't wait till they actually come out with them and get some independent reviews, see what the 7000 series actually can do. Because at this point, AMD kind of playing a game with Intel, if you ask me. Like I said, they're kind of holding back on what they can actually get out of the processor. But then again, they may not launch them with the max that they can get out of them. That way they can come out with a later model later on to combat with Intel. I'd say about 6 to 7% faster, but not much. Yeah, that's usually a pretty good safe point from generation to generation. But then again, you're going with a new motherboard layout or a new socket with them, so they may let them go a little bit higher than that. Completely revamped the office this week. Two two-piece desks, put a new tower together. It was long overdue. I like to redo my setup too, but I really just don't have time to do it. I like to get me a desk and retire this old desk of my dad's and get me a new desk setup and whatnot. But it just ain't in the cards right now. Which we'll get into, but I'm trying to pump out some videos here because I ain't gonna be here next weekend, so I need to have at least 3 videos ahead of time. Got 2 of them done already, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. Yeah, 15%. Yeah, that sounds about right. With it being a new socket and all that, they had, I don't know, kind of anxious to see what they actually put them out at. And no matter what they put them out at, I think there's going to be more power inside of the chips that they can get out of them. They just ain't going to release it all the power they got at one time. Next on our hit list for the day, we have AMD's next gen RDNA3, the Radeon RX 7000. Has more than 50% performance per watt over RDNA2. 5nm advanced chiplet package, the next gen Infinity Cache. But gaming will probably 6 to 10%. Yeah, 10 to 6% with an 8% uplift in IPC. Yeah, very doable with that. But you gotta think, if they whenever they do the processors and whatnot, they think more on the work line than the actual gaming line. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you gotta build up both sides at the same time with the build for the workflow as well as for the gamers. Yeah, for 200% price over the RDNA2. Well, NVIDIA's kind of doing the same thing with theirs, with the 4000 series. But this is 50%, greater than 50% performance per watt. So it depends on what the 5nm chiplets Infinity Cache can actually do with the watts that they allow them to have. You know, you talk about, 200% price hike. You're going to probably have the same thing with NVIDIA whenever the 40,000 series or 4000 series launch. They're going to do the same thing. Which we got an article on that as well today, about talking about the 4000 series. And and don't take this wrong, guys. This says greater than 50% performance per watt. That don't mean it's going to have 50% performance gains in gaming. 50% performance per watt means that they can keep the power consumption of them down while they still maintain the same performance. Or they may go up by an extra 100 watts that they need in wattage. But you're still going to get a massive improvement in gaming if they go up by 100 watts of usage. So you'll soon need a 1500 watt outlet dedicated to PC in your place to get a new PC soon, or else it may take one fire or so get some marshmallows ready. Nah, I see 220 becoming the norm through the U.S. to be able to run a PC myself over a 110 outlet. Like what your dryer plugs into or something, or your deep freeze plugs into a 220. Some of them, if you get big enough deep freeze, yeah, something like that. I can see you having to plug into a dryer outlet to be able to run a PC. But with the greater than 50% performance per watt, that means you won't use as much energy to get the same performance. Or if you had enough wattage, you could almost double the performance of the chip. But I don't see them doing that. They may. But with all the stuff that's going out about the 4000 series, they may do that. Some of the advancements that they're making is they're going to a 5nm process. They got advanced chiplet packaging. So basically, they're going to take the GPUs and they're going to make them like a CPU, where you're going to have more than one chip on each die. And then they're going to connect them to Infinity Cache. So basically, they're going to take the GPUs and make them just like they make the CPUs. Which could be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. We'll have to wait and see. It is a new technology they're coming out with. There's all the talk about with the 40 or 4000 series coming. I'm wondering how good these things are going to actually perform. I'm sure AMD's aware of the performance of the 4000, and they're going to stay competitive with them. But there's a lot of rumors and leaks going around about the 4000 series that I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I seen an article saying that it's going to be 50% uplift in performance. They said that about the 30 series. They said that about the 20 series. None of them had a 50% uplift. Most graphic cards, when they come out with something new, you're usually looking at a 25% increase, 15% increase. And I figure that's what these new generations is going to be. I don't see them coming out with graphics card that's 1.5 times more powerful than the old stuff. I just don't think it's in their best interest. And even if they do, to be able to get rid of the old inventory, the last generation of cards is going to be so expensive that nobody's going to want them any damn way. But we'll have to wait and see how much of this comes true. Of course, everything we talked about today is through WCCFTech, which is pretty reliable, but still, yet sometimes they miss the mark on their information. So definitely take it with a grain of salt. The first one we talked about, the FX Super Resolution, that was through Tom's Hardware. They normally don't really get into the rumors too bad. They usually stay with what they know is true. WCCFTech is another. They're pretty good, but sometimes they get the information wrong, or they follow the leaks a little bit too much. So definitely take all this with a grain of salt about these. But if you got a graphics card that's eating 200 watts now, their 200 watt graphics card coming up, you can hit 50% more performance out of them with the same wattage usage. Basically what it's saying. So, but you don't exactly scale that way when it comes down into the mathematics of it, but it's close. This next one we got here ain't gonna surprise nobody. Flagship NVIDIA GeForce RTX40 series AD102 GPU. It is going to be a 4-slot cooler with a triple fan reference design. Well, it's just, with what they're saying about the power usage of this and the performance that they're saying that this thing's going to have, yeah, it's going to have a beefy cooler to be able to handle that heat. I don't know if they actually got a picture of the shroud one here or not. But I've seen some leaks of the photo of the shroud one. You have two bigger fans, one on each side, plus one smaller one in the middle of it. And of course, this one here, definitely take it with a grain of salt. This comes from, I don't know how you pronounce this, if people got a way of pronouncing it. It's a guy that leaks on Twitter all the time. A lot of people listen to him. A lot of what he says actually comes true. If you actually follow him long enough, a lot of his information goes back and forth. I don't know where he gets his info from. But he says he's going to have a triple fan cooler. Oh, get off there. I don't care about that. It's going to have a triple fan cooler, and it's going to be a 4-slot GPU. Which don't surprise me with what it's, with the wattage that this GPU is supposed to be holding. This is for the 4090, which is the top tier. But if you look at the specs, it's going to need a big one. It's going to need a bigger cooler. Just to be able to keep it cool, to stop itself from burning up. I don't know how much to actually believe. Once again, the leaker reveals the 102 GPU scales from 450 and up to 900 watts. If they only use the 102 for the top line SKUs, how's it going to go from 450 up to 900? I mean, you know, it's a hell of a range to say something's in. And even if it's going to take 450 watts, it's going to take a pretty beefy cooler to be able to keep it cool. But yeah, I don't think that surprises a whole lot of anybody. You know, 4-cord slot, which means the cooler's going to take up about 3. Your cord takes up 1. I don't know if I can actually find a picture of it or not. See if I can find a picture of it here. There's a picture of it. It's on videocords.com. They got a picture of it. And there's a picture of what the 4090 is supposed to look like with the 4090 Ti. You got the 2 bigger fans on the outside, like I said, and the 1 smaller one in the middle. If they stick with it, which, by the way, I understand they had something like this designed for the 3000 series as well, but it never came true. They ended up going with the two pin design, heading 2 different ways on that one. They may change this. First, it says leaks, it says rumors, so definitely take it with a grain of salt. And yeah, see, the NVIDIA, of course, got their information to this guy. But if you look at the specs of what this thing has compared to what's available now, of course, you're going to have a bigger cooler to be able to keep them cool. You know, a lot of speculation, a lot of people kind of putting their thoughts out there, so it's kind of hard to know what to believe and what not to believe. But anyways, that's going to pretty well wrap it up for that episode, or pretty well wrap it up for the news anyways. See how we did this week as a community, which we didn't do too bad. Our view counts for the week is up to 15, which is a 114% increase over last week by what YouTube's telling me anyways. So if you're new to the community, welcome. I'm glad you decided to join our little community here. Which I don't think I have anybody new watching today. What to come up on the channel? This Wednesday's video coming up is if you wasn't here last weekend, we put together a PC port picker list for a $500 gaming computer with all new components. That's what's going to be coming up this week. Kind of break down that port picker list and kind of explain why I chose the components I did for a $500 all new port build here in 2022. I ain't gonna be here next Saturday. I will be on the beach with my toes in the sand next weekend. But I do have a video coming up. Next Saturday there will be the best $1,000 gaming computer build, which is another port list video. Will be coming up on Saturday. Just kind of make up for me not being able to be live next weekend. What's that? Tom's Hardware. This seems interesting. That seems interesting. So yeah, that one will be coming up. Right now, need to get another video done as well, because I ain't gonna be here next Saturday to do filming or the live stream. So I gotta have one ready for next Wednesday as well to come up. Ain't too sure on what that's going to be. Them ports list videos pretty easy to put together, so I may do another one of those. Just quick and dirty. That way I have something to put up on the channel to fill in that spot. Make sure something goes live on the channel. But I also have the Razer headset I did the unboxing on. I've been using them. I want to get a little bit of experience with them before I actually do the video on them though. See, to kind of give you my fair impressions after a few months of use of them. See how they hold up and whatnot before I actually release the unboxing video of them. So I may get that one done. I don't know. But yeah, there's quite a few videos that's in the works or running through my mind that I want to get done. But the next two videos is them two perk list coming out. What's this with Tom's Hardware and the Qualcomm promises to outplay Apple's M2 with its upcoming ARM chips? Because they couldn't sell out to somebody that wanting to go up against Apple. Qualcomm CEO. Oh, I guess I ought to flip you guys over here, huh? Let me get you guys flipped over here. Qualcomm CEO, however you may pronounce that, is bullish on the company's prospect for its upcoming ARM-based platform for mobile and desktop form factors. Went as far as claiming that its chips, which won't hit the market till 2023, will outperform Apple's recently introduced M2. That sounds like it may be if they actually put a CPU go with them, it may be pretty good for the gaming community. Dio's in the house. What's going on, buddy? Welcome in. They decided to hang out with me. At least stop by. Even with the claim the chips outperform the M.2, which built upon the company's extremely well-received first-generation Apple silicon. So Qualcomm wants to play with the big boys. Okay. There's enough room out there. At the time of the conference, mentioned was the design of the world's most powerful ARM-based CPU. Chips that could go toe-to-toe against both Intel and AMD, now placed on the same side of the range against the incredible computing ARM architecture to do so. Two other individual Apple engineers, which promoted yet ongoing dispute with Apple. Okay. That'd be alright. We need some more competition in the CPU space besides AMD and Intel. Kind of strange that they're wanting to go against Apple right off the bat, though. Qualcomm's aims does go above and beyond Apple. However, the company absorbs either to rival AMD and Intel. The goal is nothing short of claiming performance leadership in the personal computer CPU space with its power-armed chips. This is a far cry from the other effects of the Snapdragon-based chips that have already made it into Windows-powered machines, such as Microsoft Surface X Pro. It'd be alright to get another CPU manufacturer out there going on. I think they got a long ways to come, though. They are a big manufacturer of the mobile units. So for them to be able to switch it over to a desktop platform it's a pretty big step. It's a pretty big endurer, which won't hit the market till 2023. And I don't even know if they'll be coming out with 2023. Not unless they've been working on them behind the scenes for quite some time and just never said nothing about them. What are they going to do? Launch them in their mobile devices? But I don't see how it's going to get them into the desktop scene, though. It's kind of interesting. After all these years, to get another competitor in the CPU market like that. Will outperform Apple's recently introduction of the M2 chips. Ain't the M2, that's just the mobile units, right? M2. I'm not too much on the Apple atmosphere, but I think the M2 is just for mobile units. Dismiss their products against competitors, but Qualcomm doesn't have an extremely important 1.4 billion worth card clutch tightly against their chest. The high-performance ARM chips design company founded in 2019 by Apple's former chip design lead himself, Gernard Williams. Williams led Apple's A-series SoC chip design and roadmap through the years, leading Apple's unchanged common in the smartphone SoC space. A design on which Apple's own M1 and M2 CPUs are still based off of. In other words, sounds like he's just out to beat his own stuff. It sounds like Apple's still using his old stuff that he came up with. ARM-based computing is more or less only in PI SBCs like the Pi 4. Raspberry gains in popularity the last few years, so they want to ride that wave. Yeah, sounds like it's going to be just for mobile units. I don't see them coming out with desktop, which, by looking down through that article, they do mention coming out on the desktop, but it's kind of interesting if you're into the small form factor stuff. For notebooks, it'd be alright. For laptops, notebooks, cell phones, stuff like that. But I don't know if they're going to plan on, by reading down through what I read, I didn't really read it real good, but I don't think they're going to be bringing them out to the desktop space. Which they may. Sounds like they got $1.4 billion invested, or someone's willing to invest $1.4 billion. They may bring them to desktop. Raspberry Pi 4 gig and 8 gig are out of stock almost everywhere now. Oh, really? A lot of people are getting into it. Because them raspberries, they're pretty powerful for no bigger than what they were, so that wouldn't surprise me if these out of stock. I know the raspberries got a pretty big following. They got a lot of people starting to do some different stuff with the raspberry stuff. I haven't done a whole lot of research into it. I really ain't into the mobile, but yeah, prices are scalper grade. And that's probably the problem right there, is the scalpers probably grabbing them up to sell them. damn scalpers, they get their hands into everything. They definitely destroyed PCs for the last year and a half, 2 years. Alright guys, I think I'm going to cut a little bit short today. Fiance's actually home from work. She only worked a partial shift today, so she's already home. I think I'm going to go spend some time with her. If it quit raining, I don't know if it quit raining in my area or not, but if it did, I need to go get some weed eating done. I ain't going to get it done next weekend, so I need to make sure all that stuff's taken care of before I go on vacation. Like I mentioned, everything we talked about in today's video will be linked in the description below if you'd like to do some more reading. There's some other links down there that may interest you while you're down in that area. Don't forget to do all that fun YouTube stuff when you're way down that description box. You all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream.